بسم الله. تفضل.
تفضلوا
من هنا. بسم الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله القائل: وإن طائفتان من المؤمنين اقتتلوا فاصلحوا بينهما فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى تفي إلى أمر الله فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل واقسطوا إن الله يحب المقسطين. والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد القائل: إن الله حرم عليكم دماءكم وأموالكم كحرمة يومكم هذا في شهركم هذا. أيها الأخوة في الإسلام، أحييكم بتحية سلام، وهي تحية الإسلام، تحية أهل الجنة، تحيتهم يوم يلقونه سلاما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وأرحب بكم في هذا اللقاء الإسلامي الأخوي في سفارة الإسلام، سفارة خادم الحرمين الشريفين. منطلقنا قوله تعالى: وشاورهم في الأمر، ومعتمدين على الله سبحانه وتعالى في كل ما اتخذناه ونتخذه من قرارات، فإذا عزمت فتوكل على الله. أيها الأخوة، لقد حرم الله سبحانه وتعالى الظلم، فقد ورد في الحديث: يا عبادي إني حرمت الظلم على نفسي وجعلته بينكم محرما فلا تظالموا. ولا يخفى عليكم ما وقع على أشقائنا في الكويت من ظلم غاشم لا مبرر له من العراق الشقيق، وأزهقت فيه كثير من الأرواح المسلمة بغير حق. والرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: والذي نفسي بيده لقتل مؤمن أعظم عند الله من زوال الدنيا. قد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى: ومن يقتل مؤمنا متعمدا فجزاؤه جهنم خالدا فيها وغضب الله عليه ولعنه وأعد له عذابا عظيما. ويقول صلى الله عليه وسلم: قتال المسلم كفر وسبابه فسوق. لقد أقدم العراق على فعلته الشنعاء في الشهر الحرام متجاهلا كل تعاليم الإسلام القاضية بتحريم دماء المسلمين وأموالهم وأعراضهم. قامت هذه الطغمة الباغية بتشريد شعب آمن مسلم، وارتكب جرائم لا يفعلها من في قلبه أدنى ذرة من إنسانية. أزهقت الأرواح وانتهكت الأعراض والعياذ بالله، وسلبت الأموال وتيتمت الأطفال وترملت النساء، وضاعت حقوق الناس. ولقد غزي الكويت بأمر فردي من رجل يدعي العروبة ويدعي الإسلام، ولا يعمل ذلك أحد فعلا يكون عربيا أو مسلما. لقد غزي الكويت من جيش ساهم الكويت على مدى سنوات طويلة في بنائه، وقد قاسم شعب الكويت وشعب المملكة العربية السعودية لقمة العيش مع أخوانهم في العراق الشقيق في أيام محنته فيما يسمى بالدفاع عن البوابة الشرقية للأمة العربية. وما أن انتهت الحرب التي ذهب فيها ضحايا كثيرون من المسلمين، حتى فوجئنا باحتلال الكويت وتوجه القوات الضاربة على حدود الكويت مع المملكة العربية السعودية. عندئذ ظهر لنا المخطط العدواني الرهيب، وهو احتلال الكويت واحتلال المملكة ومقدساتها، وليس فقط منابع النفط، وتغيير خارطة العالم العربي الإسلامي. وهنا ناشدنا بأن ينسحب من الكويت وإن كان له مطالبه أو حق، فليس الحرب والاحتلال هي الوسيلة لتحقيق ذلك، بل العودة للحوار وتحكيم شريعة الله بين المسلمين. ولكن للأسف لم نجد أذنا صاغية لما نقول، فلجأنا بعد الله إلى الأخوة العرب، وللأسف الشديد لم يجرؤ بعضهم على مجرد التنديد أو الاستنكار لتغيير المنكر، عملا بقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم: من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده، فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه، فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه، وذلك أضعف الإيمان. فلما رأينا أن الخطر أحدق بنا وليس لدى العرب والمسلمين في حينه القدرة لدفع الخطر عنا، استشرنا علماء المسلمين في المملكة وخارجها في إمكانية الاستعانة بغير المسلمين مع أشقائنا العرب والمسلمين لدفع الظلم عنا وإن كان الظالم مسلما. فأفتوا جميعا بأنه يجب على إمام المسلمين أن يرفع الظلم عن المسلمين وأن يحفظ دماءهم وأموالهم وأعراضهم ومقدساتهم، ولو كان ذلك بالاستعانة بغير المسلمين. فقد استعان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بدروع استعارها من صفوان بن أمية يوم حنين، وكان كافرا لم يسلم في ذلك الوقت، وكانت خزاعة مسلمها وكافرها في جيش النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في غزوة الفتح ضد كفار أهل مكة. وقد صح عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: إنكم تصالحون الروم صلحا آمنا وتغزون أنتم وهم عدوا من ورائكم فتنصرون وتغلبون. وعليه قمنا بدعوة إخواننا من العرب والمسلمين وأصدقائنا من غير المسلمين لمعاونتنا على دفع الضرر والاستفادة من خبراتهم لتدريب قواتنا المسلحة. ومع هذا فلم نجد طريقا للسلم إلا سلكناه، ولا زلنا كذلك. ولكن إذا لم يكن إلا الأسنة مركبا فما حيلة المضطر إلى ركوبها. وهذا بإيجاز ما جرى في الخليج وموقف المملكة العربية السعودية منه، ولما لكم من أهمية كبرى كممثلين للمسلمين في أمريكا، وما للمملكة العربية السعودية وهي مهبط الوحي ومهوى الأفئدة من مكانه في قلوب المسلمين. أحببنا اطلاعكم على ما حدث. وختاما أرحب بكم مرة أخرى، وأتمنى للأخوة الأشقاء الكويتيين الحاضرين معنا اليوم النجاح في مؤتمرهم، كما أؤكد لهم باسم خادم الحرمين الشريفين بأننا لن نقبل أبدا إلا كويتا حرا مستقلا وعودة حكومته الشرعية إلى بلاده. وهذا عهد من خادم الحرمين ومن إخوانكم الشعب السعودي. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام.
لو سمحت بس أقول كلمتين بالإنجليزي للإخوان اللي We have translation of my speech in English. I think it will be passed to our friends who did not catch up the gist of what
Thank you.
وأحب أسأل الإخوان ما أدري تبغون نحكي بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي اللي أسهل للجميع.
الإنجليزية الكل يفهم.
بالإنجليزي الكل يفهم؟ طيب. من اللي ما يحكي إنجليزي يرفع يده. حتى بس يكون الخير أعم للجميع. أنا إذا سمحتوا لي إخواني أقدر أخذ مثلا سؤال أو سؤالين إذا كان في ذهن أحد شيء من الأسئلة، وبعدها أتركها للإخوان الكرام للتحدث معاكم. فأنا مستعد أجاوب على السؤال بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي. I thought I will take one or two questions if there are anything that I could clarify from our view as Saudi Arabia. And then my distinguished friends and colleagues will then maybe add whatever they think is appropriate to this meeting.
كثير مع احضار الناصر الشطي.
نعم.
عن
اليوم اخبار سمعنا ان احد اعضاء الكونغرس في لقاء مع الرئيس حسني مبارك ان الرئيس حسني مبارك على علم بالغزو، او بالاحرى ان في الغزو كان اتفاق مسبق عليه للكويت. فما ادري اذا توضح لنا هذا.
The question was asked now about a report that a U.S. senator have said that President Mubarak told him that this has been preset long time. This invasion of Kuwait has been preset previously long time. I cannot comment on what the senator said that President Mubarak have said, but I can tell you one thing, that President Mubarak personally said that he knows more than what he has been saying yet, and would like and will be willing to say everything, all the facts, if we cannot come to a peaceful solution to the invasion. My guess is that this operation could not have been done 2 or 3 days before. This must have been pre-planned a long time before. The sad thing, the tragedy is, I personally was with President Saddam Hussein 4 months ago in Ramadan. And he told me personally that the greatest danger to Muslims and the Arabs is the rumors by imperialists and Zionists that Iraq has any designs against its brother Arabs and Muslims. This is one of the things that convinced me that the man was not honest with us as a human being or as a Muslim being. We have talked to him at all levels, Arabs, leaders, and through international leaders, until the day of the invasion, and he assured us with his word of honor that there will be no invasion. And there was an invasion. After the invasion, we asked him to withdraw, and he promised us he will withdraw, and he did not withdraw. Then he promised us he will not move his troops to our borders, and he moved his troops to our borders. So my friends and brothers, it is not a question of us one morning waking up and deciding that we don't trust Saddam Hussein. But there were certain actions that he did consistently after he promised all of us that he would not do. And he broke his words in every turn. And then we went to our Arab brothers and asked for some assistance and help. And we could not get the reaction that we required. Now, we have, particularly just Saudi Arabia, have spent $25 billion supporting Iraqi army. Now, if we spent that money on our own army, we would have been strong enough, we would not need help from outside forces. But wouldn't it be even more better if we spent the 25 billions on our people and our brothers Muslims around the world, or the Arab world, or the third world where there was need for it? The treachery, the deception is such a large magnitude. It is not acceptable neither as an Arab nor as a Muslim. It cannot be base for Islamic or Arabic behavior. He is saying today that if Israel withdraws from the West Bank and Gaza and Jerusalem and Golan Heights, he will withdraw from Kuwait. I ask you sincerely and honestly, why does he think Israel is more concerned about an Arab country than we are as Arabs? Do you really believe that Israel will come and say, I am so worried about Kuwait, I'm willing to withdraw from all these places so that then we can save Kuwait? It doesn't make sense, it's not logical. But what is damaging is, when we had the strength worldwide to say what Israel has done by occupying Arab lands by force and Muslim holy mosques, now they're telling us, well, what about Kuwait? So he's weakening our own own logic and arguments with the world vis-a-vis Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza, and so on. And the truth of the matter is that what his army has done in Kuwait has not been done by the worst and the most savage invaders through our history in the region. Rape, looting, demeaning activities to the public. And today, he's being civilized by trying to show the world he's saving the families of the Western hostages and the children. How about his brother Muslim hostages? The whole nation of Kuwait is a hostage. Where is the compassion there? Where is the civility? This is the tragedy. The other tragedy is definitely he split the whole Arab and Muslim world at a time when we wanted the whole Arab and Muslim world to be together. If the Soviets and the Americans, which are not connected by religion or blood or heritage or anything, are getting together today to have a better world for their own people, why is it too much for us as Arabs and Muslims to get together and try and make a better world for our own people? God knows we have more problems at the human level than the big countries and the big powers have. Iraq is not a poor country, my friends. Iraq is a very rich country. They have the largest oil reserves in the whole world, second only to Saudi Arabia. But where did all those billions of dollars go? This is the question. The question is, those billions of dollars did not go to serve the people of Iraq, or the Muslims in the world, or the Arabs, as now they're claiming to be. This money went for arming and destructive weapon systems. If there is truth to what they're saying, the haves and the have-nots, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. The wealth we have, we don't have monopoly on it. We did not invent it either. God gave it to us. It was there in the land that we found. But let's see what we have done with that wealth, and let's ask him what he has done with his wealth. From 1978 until today, when the Arab countries were supposed to pay certain amounts to Jordan, the PLO, and Syria, the only countries that did not pay was Iraq, to none of those countries. And now he's saying the haves and the have-nots. 7% of Saudi Arabia GNP, gross national product, is spent on foreign aid to our friends and brothers worldwide. When Sudan had the disaster a few months ago, floods and so on, my country sent 170 airplane loads of goods and things to help the people there. Whether it's in Bangladesh or Pakistan, we don't say this so that people can say thank you. We say this because we think it's our duty. But also, people are saying now you have not done anything. Well, Iraq is a classic example. $25 billion was spent on Iraq alone. So, Islam is not the religion of hate. Islam is not the religion of envy. Islam is the religion of love and sharing and reasoning, and definitely not of treachery. And the man has done everything that we thought we are proud of as Arabs and as Muslims. Exactly the reverse. So today, we are asking for justice, but not from weakness, from strength first in our faith in our God. And second, because we have just and rational cause. And three, Saddam Hussein, with his aggression, cannot prevail. That was really a very disappointing and sad thing. And I have to tell you, when you watch some of the news here in the TV, you think the whole Arab world and the whole Muslim communities, particularly the Arab world, are up in arms against us because we brought in American or English forces to help us. Number one, that's not true. And number two, we have Arab, Muslim, and friendly country forces. We have Egyptian forces, Syrian forces, Moroccan forces, 7 Gulf country forces, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Today, Senegal asked to send some forces. Every country that felt moral indignation to what Saddam Hussein has done to this peaceful, small, peace-loving country wants to send. We don't need all these forces, but we need to show the solidarity, and we need to, as good Muslims, to say wrong is wrong is wrong, and I'm willing to show the flag there to help support this idea. The truth of the matter is that none of us want to see foreign forces in our country. I can assure you. But let's ask ourselves a simple, logical question. Was the forces there and the result of it he invaded Kuwait? Or was this as a result of his invasion to Kuwait? This is the important question. When some of our friends in the Arab world particularly come with this half-cooked, I call it, ideas, and they are becoming the specialist in but, the word but, B-U-T. They say, we are against the invasion of Kuwait, but, and then they give you all rationales why they're not going to support us. I tell them, like I read today in one of our papers, a small story by a writer. And he says, it is like if you are in your house and you see somebody jump into your neighbor's house, kills your neighbor, rapes his wife, and then steals his jewelry. And the police comes to attack him or arrest him. And with the police, there is a foreigner. Do you say to yourself, I am against the attack on my neighbor and the raping of his family and stealing his jewelry, but I cannot support the police actions because they have a foreigner with them? What is more damaging, the police action to arrest the criminal, or the indignation because one of the policemen was not of your own nationality? Or do you say, I really am against the rape, the attack, and the stealing, but the police were wrong because they came through my garden and destroyed my flowers? What is more precious, the life of this human being and the crimes was committed, or the fact that destroyed or disturbed your garden? These are the facts. Therefore, we support everybody who says we don't want foreign troops in Saudi Arabia. We agree. But do we agree that there are a cause and effect? That if the cause did not take place, the effect will not take place? Those forces, whether they are foreign, friendly countries, or Arab or Muslims, all came in the following conditions. They came at our request, they leave at our request, or when the mission has been achieved. So, for us, we have very clear mind, and more important, clear conscience with our God and what we're doing. That is the most important.
There is a concern in the Muslim world, and many Muslims have this concern that especially the United States forces are going to stay there for long. And today's newspaper also said that the Soviet Union has expressed this concern.
That's right. Would you
like to make a comment about that?
I do very much, because we have agreements with every country that sends troops to Saudi Arabia. Signed, documented agreements that they come at our request and they leave when we decide that they should leave. I think there are still residual thinking of what Gorbachev calls the new thinking. This is the old thinking. I think colonialism is dead forever. I really do believe so, because it's not cost effective. In the old days, people colonized because it's the cheapest way to get to resources, etc., etc. Now it's a very expensive way. American forces will cost them about $1 billion a month to stay there. Even America cannot afford to keep that one. Second, genuinely and honestly, and I have been in most of the meetings with all the countries that have sent forces. Nobody came willingly. Everybody came reluctantly. But everybody felt it is important enough to do what has been done. I have no doubt in my mind that as soon as justice is done, either through diplomatic or otherwise, that those forces will depart. And we have absolutely no concern or doubts that they will go. As far as the Soviets' position, we questioned that today, and they told us that there has been exaggeration. What they have said is that they are concerned at the escalation of American forces in the region, and that they are concerned that the Americans may not leave afterward. However, Shevardnadze told me personally and officially they had denounced it, that they understand and respect why we have done what we have done, because they know how wrong what has and the major damage that was done to Kuwait. And I will tell you, if we did not face 1 million soldiers, 1,000 aeroplanes, 5,000 tanks, 10,000 armored personnel carriers, and major chemical warfare capabilities, we would not ask for foreign force. In 1961, when another Kuwaiti leader did the same thing, we did not need to bring foreign forces. In fact, the British came with a battalion. And in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and 2 other Arab countries, I forgot now exactly who, we all sent forces from us to Kuwait, put them in the borders between Kuwait and Iraq. The British left, and we solved the problem. But my friends, our forces which we sent from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, equaled the forces that Abdul Karim Qasim, the Iraqi leader, had. So there was parity. So which Arab country is willing to send us hundreds of aircrafts to match his hundreds of aircrafts, or hundreds of tanks to match his hundreds of tanks, or hundreds of thousands of troops to match his thousands of troops? But more important than the numbers, which one can send it in time before he decides to go? Because from the Kuwaiti borders to Dahran, it would have taken him about 24 hours to 36 hours. And the earliest any of our brothers could have come to help us would have taken 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So that was the reason why we moved, but we have no doubt. We don't have the desires, nor do we think these countries that came want to stay, nor do we worry about that. But we go back to the same basic questions. Why are they there? Who brought them? Somebody must be responsible for bringing them. Not us, but whoever perpetrated the crime.
Students Convention here in Washington, D.C. First of all, I would like to extend my appreciation to the ambassador for the invitation, and our deepest appreciation for the Saudi people for the way they have treated our people in Saudi Arabia. Without that, the Kuwaiti problem would have been so bad. But alhamdulillah, we think that this is one of the good things that came out of this problem. The brotherhood that we felt in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf states and in Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Emirat, really that helped a lot and made the sorrow in our heart far less. So we would like to show our deepest appreciation to all that helped in that manner. Also, I would like to invite all those who are present here today to show their support for the cause of the Kuwaiti people by attending our program, either today or the following 2 days. We have the program until Sunday night. Your presence would show that at least you are supporting the Kuwaiti cause and the Kuwaiti struggle. I have a question also for the ambassador, please. What is your expectations of the near future of the crisis?
أولا لا شكر على واجب يا يقولون عندنا الله لا يوريك غلاك هذا الصوت طلع على الصحيح. We say in Arabic, I hope you never find out how dear you are to me, because usually when you do, that's a crisis or a time of testing. We don't we don't take credit for what we have done, both our government or our people. That's the least thing we could have done for our brothers. We wish we've done something more so it doesn't happen. The damage does not happen. It was too late. But I think there will be a great lesson for all of us in this, in many directions. As far as the meeting today and tomorrow, the next day, I do also encourage everybody here to attend and participate, because every level of support is required here. The least of which is moral support, because that is also very important for the morale of our brothers in Kuwait. As far as your questions, what are my expectations? I want to go back to the objective, because there is a deliberate attempt by the Iraqis to divert attention from the basic elements of the problem. The basic problem is there was an invasion of Kuwait and annexation. That cannot be acceptable. There must be total withdrawal unconditionally from Kuwait, and the legitimate government of Kuwait goes back to its country. If that is achieved, everything else one can talk about it later. If that is not achieved, nothing else is acceptable to us. So, what we have today is the United Nations resolutions that confirms this and sets the parameters internationally. Second, we have the sanctions to enforce that. Third, we have the rejection of the annexation and confirmation of the sanction. And fourth, we had the resolution that every country can do what is necessary to enforce these sanctions. The United Nations Security Council resolutions also calls on the Secretary General to report back of any progress. He is now meeting with the Iraqis, as you can see. And in the next 2-3 days, he will go back to report. In my judgment, as long that we can solve this problem without shedding further Muslim and Arab bloods, we should do it. In my judgment, as long that there is any diplomatic or economic options to get the Iraqis to withdraw and to get Kuwait to go back to what it was before the invasion, we should attempt it. And I believe also at the same time we must be preparing ourselves that this will not happen and we might have to be provoked into achieving these objectives by force. So it is vital that we knock at every peaceful door that we could achieve solution peacefully without bloodshed. But a man like Saddam Hussein only understands power and the game of power. And if he thinks we're dealing from a weak hand, I don't think he will be willing to be flexible. If he thinks we are dealing from a strong hand, then one of two things will happen. Either he will go back to common sense and do the right thing, and which we hope and pray that this will happen, or he will make the deadly mistake and provoke an engagement which will be very, very expensive for him. But it will be a price that we all have to pay to get justice done. So I am optimistic in the overall. I am really convinced, bi-idhnillah, that we will get to the objective. The question is how we get there. And I would like to see us get there peacefully, but we must get there anyway. And as far as what is the time span, that depends on quite a few things that I'm not privileged at the moment to talk about if we're going to make them successful. But we're working both sides of the issues.
I have no doubt in my mind that every Muslim resents the presence, American presence in Muslim land, particularly Saudi Arabia. But unfortunately, some of the du'at, they are taken by the notion that we have to focus on the American presence in the Gulf, rather than to focus on the mother problem, which is really an American presence there is a byproduct of the main problem. Unfortunately, some of the du'at are focusing on this, and indirectly they are really indirectly they are supporting Saddam's objectives. Because that's what Saddam wants all the Muslims to focus on the presence, the American presence, and forget the aggression, the main aggression, which inflicted upon our brothers in Kuwait. And that's why I really would like to remind our brothers to differentiate between the problem and its byproducts in order to set things in perspective. And then only then we can know that once the major problem is solved, then there is no need for the American presence. I'm sure that the Saudi government they don't like the presence of the Americans there, but once the main problem, which caused the whole thing, is solved, I think the other problems automatically will be solved, inshallah.
I agree with you 100%. And I encourage our brothers, Dua, and others to refocus the discussion on the cause and effect. But I have also some good news for you as far as the Arab and Islamic leadership worldwide is involved. I was told just before I came down that brother Muslim leaders from Tunisia, Algeria, Turkey, some from Jordan, Sudan, all are going to Saudi Arabia in the next 2 days to meet there and then to come with a common position. Now, why that is important? Because everybody talks about the Islamic movements in Algeria, and Tunisia, and in Sudan, and that they are against what happened and therefore supporting Saddam Hussein. Number one, that's not true. Why? Because once the facts were presented to them, we found that there is total different position that they are taking now than they did initially when they first got the news. And number two, these Islamic fronts were already active for different causes than the Gulf problem. They were asking for certain basic things that they felt Tunis or Algeria or Sudan or whatever need to do, i.e. go back to the Sharia, go back to some Islamic laws, etc., etc. Ironic enough, something we are proud of in Saudi Arabia, that in the 60s and the 70s, everybody was advising us, whether it's the West or whether it's some of our Arab brothers, that we are so reactionaries in Saudi Arabia, that we must be progressive or else we will collapse as a government. And then when we ask them, why do you think we are reactionary? They say, women don't drive in your country, so you must allow them to drive. They say, you don't have nightclubs, you must have nightclubs to be progressive. They say, you close your shops 5 times a day during prayer times. You must be progressive. They say, you must allow women to dress up anywhere they like, whether it's bikini or whether it is anything. So that is reactionaries. So you Saudis, if you don't change your laws and open up to the world and become quote unquote modern, you are going to collapse. Well, we saw what happened. Today, the biggest thing that's going on in the Arab and the Muslim world is Islamic movements that want to go back to basics. But these are the basics that we were attacked for before. So when somebody come to me and tell me the Islamic movements are a threat to Saudi Arabia, I said, you don't know Saudi Arabia, number one. And number two, how can they be a threat when we are the ones who we were attacked in the past for doing or keeping these things as basic law, as having Sharia as our basic law of the land, and we're proud of it. As I tell people, we definitely would like to modernize in Saudi Arabia, but we don't want to westernize, and there's a difference. It's a thin difference sometimes, but it's a difference. To have a Hilton hotel, that's modernization. To have a discotheque and a bar in the Hilton hotel has nothing to do with modernization. As long as you have good room service, telephones, furniture, laundry, etc. So, westernization is a culture. I disagree with some of it, I agree with some of it, but that's their culture. I want to modernize. Modernization is acultural, has no culture to it. But when we were faced with a choice, either to continue our modernization program, in spite of what we consider an affront to our faith or culture, we chose to stop and slow down until we find a way around it, or a way that's acceptable to us, or adapt a different way. So, no doubt in my mind that part of the arguments, if those leaders like Ghanouchi, Abbas Madani, Hassan al-Turabi, people from Turkey, from all those leaders in the Islamic movements in the Islamic Arab world now are on their way heading to Saudi Arabia. As soon as our people got to them and explained to them the facts, and all what we asked them is very simple. We said, let's go back to basics. Let's go to Shar' Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever the Sharia al-Islamiyya will decide based on these facts, we accept it. If we are wrong, we accept the verdict. If we are right, then say so. After all, if you are religious leaders, which is more important, your politics or your conscience and faith? But the worst part is that not only they don't say so, but sometimes they take their position against us, forgetting the cause and effect.
Your Excellency, my name is Sayyid Mahmoud. I'm from California. I would like to thank you for inviting us on this long weekend. And we have a lot of things on our mind. Of course, Saudi Arabia is a very emotional issue for all of us, American Muslims. And I hope by the time we go back, we'll have a lot of clear things in our mind, because we are very much involved in political affairs and community affairs in California. There's few concerns we have. There's no doubt, in principle, what Saddam has done is against Islam. It is not acceptable to any Muslim, in principle, if you believe in Islam. But that was one issue. Now, another issue which is very much a factor for the Muslims living in this country, especially having American troops in Saudi Arabia. And a lot of factions. Some people want to go out to demonstrations. Some people want to do certain things. Some people want to send out telegrams to Saudi government. So I hope. So what I'm trying to say, the perspective which we're getting, for example, 2 days before, when Dick Cheney went to see King Fahd, there was a nightline show. There was one ex-Carter administration assistant. There were 2 other people. One person said in that nightline, he said, let's not give Saudi Arabia any option. Let's take our troops to Saudi Arabia, we should be there. Okay, that's one example. The other example is Dick Cheney said, okay, I gave a 2-hour presentation to King Fahd, and King Fahd and then he agreed that he will let us come in. So what we are saying, not from Saudi point of view or from Iraqi, from American point of view, the attitude of American government is just like Saudi, or somehow that Middle East is their territory. Right. And they make the decision the way they want to make. And we are getting a lot of wishy-washy statement from Dick Cheney also. So this is one thing which we are very much concerned. Sure. And we hope Saudi Arabia government will have the strength to tell them where to go.
No, absolutely.
If that has to be done.
I think your question is very appropriate and timely. And this is one of the purposes why we wanted to get together. And number one, I can assure you that the final word on this is Saudi Arabian word, not anybody else. Second, in the agreement we made, and it is a signed agreement, not just verbal, one of the paragraphs we insisted on that the respect of our culture and religion within whoever comes there. And this is not for publication, just in case we have some of the press here. This one's one comment. At least 10 people have been sent home 24 hours after they got there, because we felt they've done something that violates our religious practices or... But of course, you don't ask somebody to come and help you at the same time slap them in the face either. And in my speech, that you will get a copy of it, you will find the examples I gave of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, whereby he had asked for help from people who were not Muslims, and mushrikeen, in fact, because it dictated, the necessity was dictated to save the bigger picture. So we have not done anything outside the norms. And this is why in the Muslim countries, and I forgot to say, one delegation that's coming in the next 2 days, also from Pakistan, some of those religious leaders in the Islamic movement in Tunis, Algeria, and Al-Azhar came out and in support of this, which is one of the greatest Islamic institutions. All those people, once we came and showed them the facts, and showed them what can be done to save Islam. When people talk about Saddam Hussein, people forget that the man is Ba'athi, and he was secular. Nobody can raise his head if he's Muslim or Muslim movement in Iraq right now. So it's not like somebody is coming who wants to protect Islam from what happened. And as my brother here said, let's not forget the cause and the effect of it. Now, nightlife. As you know, I have been in as many of these shows the last few days as I care for, much more than I care for. But this country has a unique situation. It has an open media that is not necessarily constructive or even good, but they don't want it to be neither constructive, but they just want it to be free. You can hear the good, the bad, and the ugly in it. And I feel sometimes sorry for the American public, because every issue, there are 4 views on it. To be conservative. And if I was an American who's trying to make my mind up, I am not sure who is telling me the truth. Is the president telling the truth? Yes, you all see when the president gives a speech. Instantly, 4 people after him come and tell you what the president said. And all 4 of them tell it 4 different ways. And you just heard the man speaking. So from that concept, from that perception, definitely it is a confusing process. That's why we're trying so hard to get through all this chaff and give the facts and refocus the issues. When Cheney went to Saudi Arabia, it was our request that he come. Not that we were told that he will come to tell you what to do. Why did we ask for it? Because we saw all the facts I told you, the invasion, 1 week before the invasion, I forgot to tell you. The Americans have told my brother, the Kuwaiti ambassador here, and I, that there are massing of troops against Kuwait. Our Kuwaiti brother's response from both his government and him, thank you, but we don't take that serious. Why? Because we know the Americans would like a justification to send their troops to Kuwait. 4 days later, which is 3 days before the invasion, they came and told him and told me, and I was on my way for my vacation that day, that not only there is massing of troops against Kuwait, but these troops now are in attack formation. And what did my brothers, the Kuwaiti government, tell him? We don't believe that, but this is the Americans want to have a base. So they are exaggerating this so that then they can have justification. Well, half an hour and a half before the attack, we got another last message from the Americans. We have just intercepted an order to issue ammunition and proceed. Well, by the time everybody called everybody else, the troops were moving. Now, giving you this background, now think of us sitting now across the borders. And they told us that there are 4 more divisions other than the 3 that invaded Kuwait coming south. We could not afford to say, but the Americans are trying to convince us that they justify to have a base. Why? Because we just saw what happened in Kuwait. And then they told us, and those 3 divisions that already in Kuwait are moving to your borders. So we sent our people, infiltrated, they went inside and they saw, sure enough, hundreds of tanks coming south. Then we sent our Air Force with reconnaissance to shoot pictures. And we discovered ground-to-ground missiles suddenly being moved in. Now, why would you need ground-to-ground to invade Kuwait with it that you already occupied? So, but to be 100% sure, like Ibrahim alayhi salam, لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي, we said we want to see the pictures by satellite of those extra 4 divisions you say they're coming. If it is true, we're going to ask for help. Because the Americans told us, if you want help from us, we cannot do it the night before the invasion. Because it takes a lot to move enough forces to stop this kind of force. So Cheney was tasked, we asked him to come to bring with him the facts. And the facts were just as we saw it. Satellite pictures with hundreds and hundreds of tanks heading that way, ground-to-ground missiles. And if you then, to get a better feel, put all of that in a 48 hours time frame, you will realize nobody has the luxury then to say, well, I'm not sure. Because if our Kuwaiti brothers required proof, Kuwait was the proof for us. It's not a matter then to make such a... Another thing here is a word that I really would love to say about the Kuwaiti people. They really proved that they are a heck of a noble nation. And we all should be very proud of it. Because after being invaded with 120,000 troops, tanks and all, hundreds of helicopters, the government of Iraq, which by the way then realized that they had no good excuse to invade Kuwait, said, but there was a coup d'etat and we responded to the coup. All right? Wouldn't it be more intelligent to have the coup first and then to come and invade? I mean, to show you how ridiculous their planning and how arrogant they were. But then when they were stuck after the first part of the invasion, they wanted to have legitimate excuse. So they said, well, we are actually responding to a coup. Even if we accept that warped logic, where are the coup leaders? And they could not present 8 Kuwaitis to show to the people as the coup leaders. And I think that is a great referendum for the Kuwaiti people, their dignity, their faith, and the fact that they did not accept to be subjugated by force. And I think when people talk here about democracy and votes and feudal government ruling in Kuwait, that is the best referendum and vote if anybody can give me a vote. When by force, you cannot find an opposition that will stand up and say, yes, we don't like this government, we're glad you're here, we're taking over now. That to me is more important than even ballots or going to vote under the circumstances. These 2 points, my friends and brothers, please don't let them slip your minds.
But one comment, last comment I'd like to make. Saudi Arabia should do the fast and make the decision.
Oh, absolutely.
Not the United States.
That is true. But you have a louder mouth media than we have. That's the problem. When you go there, and I hope you get a chance to go, you will find that the camera shows you, it's just like sometimes you see demonstrations. And you think, my God, the whole city is up in arms. When you go in your car, you found 30 people. But the camera will show you only what they want to show you and make it as big as small as. Now, of course, America came in mass. Of course, America brought in a lot of force, particularly the air power. But that's why we asked them. I mean, I could not go and ask Djibouti to come and help me. I love Djibouti very much, but Djibouti cannot help itself. How can it help me? You know? If I need to get somebody to help me, to face, because the help here is not moral. Moral, I have 1 billion Muslims with me, I am sure, with their hearts and minds. But here is not just a moral requirement. I am facing somebody who has no moral standards, who has chemical warfare, who used it against his people. And he has the might physically to do damage. I have to checkmate him militarily and then try and do something else. So I can assure you that in our land we are the masters of ourselves in our land. And the foreign forces, and we will be grateful for them that they came and helped, will not stay there 1 hour longer than what they are needed or when the mission is finished. That I can assure you of.
Yes, yes.
In Chicago particularly, the Muslim community is very much divided into two camps. And it will not be an exaggeration to say that pro-Saddam element is stronger than the anti-Saddam there. I would request you to do one thing, prepare a leaflet or brochure type thing in which you give a statistical statement how much of the government spent for development within the country in the last 20 years on education, roads, institutions, industry, etc. And comparatively how much Iraq spent and how much you spent outside of Saudi Arabia, helping the Muslim countries and the Arab countries, and how much Iraq spent. This is number one. The second point, it should be emphasized in that one, the Islamic character of Saddam Hussein. I myself did not know it. I learned yesterday only that it is a law by the government in Iraq that you cannot write Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim on any letter.
That's true.
And also he says that religion is opium. And I learned today that some brother was collecting funds for Afghanistan and he was hanged.
That's true.
Similar type of statement, if you give it in that brochure, it will strengthen our hand very much in arguing the other people who are very much blindly supporting Saddam Hussein.
We really never thought, as you know, and it is not appropriate for us to go and help and go around and say, I helped this guy and that guy and that guy. Unfortunately, Saddam is forcing us now to do things that we are not used to do. We don't take in fact, we take great pride if you do it and you don't let anybody know. But what you're saying is absolutely necessary now, because we are faced with demagogues who are so good at demagoguery and propaganda that are flooding the market with ideas that are basically, we know it's not true. But unless we stand up and say it's not true, and this is why it's not true, and these are the facts, then for the short term at least, they will get the upper hand. I will make sure my brothers in the various departments in the embassy prepare this quickly, and will dispatch it to everybody, the facts and figures as you described it. But for your own information, my country has spent $700 billion.
I know it.
Yeah, I know you know it. But just in case somebody here doesn't know it, developing the country. 17 years ago, we were in the 9th century. Today, we are in the 21st century. If our crime is that we took our people from poverty and made them where they are, then that's a crime I'm willing to confess to. But while we were doing that, we were always forefront. As I said, we had the highest contribution worldwide from percentage of GNP in foreign aid than anybody else, including the United States. 7%. America pays 0.07% or 0.01% of its total aid. But we really have never found it Arab, Saudi, or Islamic way to go around and say, guess what? I gave my brothers in this country this, I gave my brother in that country that, and so on. The tragedy that Saddam is doing to us now is he's forcing us to do things that we're not used to doing. But we have to do it. And I think it's a good point.
It's a great plan towards the Middle East came from Saddam Hussein. But actually, as a media report, not just as a hard area, Iraq and Saudi Arabia, but also shows the other side, the Yemen. Can you give us an explanation for that?
Yes, unfortunately, again, I do not like to deal with speculations, number one. And number two, we have enough problems without fermenting further problems. Most of those countries that stood sadly against us in this moment and for Saddam Hussein, we have daily communication with the majority of the people there. Important segments of their society, particularly Muslims or tribal, and leadership or tribal leadership, who want us to allow them to show their attitudes in the streets and demonstrate or even rebel and so on. And we have refused to give anybody who thinks we are important to them an excuse or permission to do that. Why? Because we're not Saddam Hussein. Destabilizing Yemen does not make me happy. Destabilizing Jordan does not make me happy. Destabilizing Sudan does not make me happy. Consolidating these countries make me happy. There are short-sightedness in some of these countries, unfortunately, that they think, people really thought Saddam Hussein will walk through all the way and nobody will stop him, and that was wrong. They thought when he does that, he can give everybody a little bit of everything, and everybody will share, and that is wrong. And third, which is the saddest of all, we really thought the Saddam Hussein army was going to be heading west, and it turns out he was heading east. West was meaning going to Jerusalem. My brothers in Ramadan, I personally was with Saddam Hussein. Khadim al-Haramain, Malik Fahd sent me there. What happened in Ramadan, if you all remember? Saddam Hussein made those famous statements that he will burn half of Israel with missiles. After he made that statement, he asked for Saudi Arabia's help. And I had to go to him, and I spent 4 hours with him. What was his request? Please assure President Bush and Mrs. Thatcher that I will not attack Israel, but what I want is the guarantee that the Israelis will not attack it. So I asked him, Mr. President, then why make all these statements? We were doing fine on the Palestinian issue, Israel was in a corner, and we were really having progressively slow but definite movement toward cornering the Israelis with worldwide opinion supporting us. He said, what can I say? I just had to say it and I said it. But now, I want assurance. I had to come. I met Mrs. Thatcher 3 times. I met George Bush twice. The last time he was angry with me, angry in a friendly way. I said, Bandar, what's the problem? Who forced this guy to say these things? Why does he say it and then ask you to come to help him through us to stop the Israelis attacking? If he didn't say them in the first place, maybe Israel would not attack. And I went through a long explanation that makes me embarrassed now. Defending Saddam Hussein, and Israel is the aggressors, and they attacked him before, etc. And he would not rest, nor would he call the Arab Summit meeting until we got him assurance from Bush and Thatcher that Israel will not attack him, and he gave his word and commitment that he will not attack Israel. You know what? I believe him. He will not attack Israel, because he turned against Kuwait. Yeah. Now, this is a man who is worth our brothers in the Rafah and Gaza to go crying for him. It's not worth it. But they don't know. When we saw him losing, that's when we really then started weighing heavily with him to try and stabilize his front. This is the same man who used to insist on us to get the Americans to come and help him. I was in a briefing the other day, trying to see some satellite pictures from the American military intelligence people to show us the pictures of the front. And this colonel looked at me and he said, Mr. Ambassador, do you remember me? I said, no. He said, 1986. I don't remember you, Colonel. He said, 1986, I came to show you the briefing with the Iraqi ambassador in your house before I flew to Baghdad to brief the military leadership and Saddam Hussein about the front with the Iranians. Now, were the Americans then patriotic and today they are imperialists? This is what I'm trying to show you. This man really does not believe in anything, has no conviction. When Kuwait put the American flag on its ships, the first one to support that was Saddam Hussein. In fact, it was his request. And he said, this is the greatest service for the Arab cause. Why? Because his oil was going out on those ships out and back. Is that flag, this imperialist flag today, that is dirtying the Holy Land, was it then patriotic? The ports just north of Mecca and south of Medina, we had a dedicated port. What's it for? To bring French, American, Russian, Chinese arms and advisors to our port because it's in the Red Sea to go directly to Saddam Hussein because he could not get anything through. Was that patriotic and Islamic and Arabic behavior, and today it is imperialist? So my point is, we really and honestly stood with the man with our conviction, both Arabic and Islamic. We really fought very hard with him behind closed doors that this war with Iran was wrong and was depleting and bleeding the Muslims from both sides. And he stood up and said publicly that the only people who stood up with me are the people whom I thought were reactionaries. Saudi Arabia, the Gulf countries, and Muslim countries, Egypt, etc. Egypt, 1 million people they were helping. They were killing them and not even paying them their salaries. Can you believe it? After all what they have done for it. Kuwait was subjected to attacks, military and economic and psychological and everything. And today Iran is standing up and saying what happened in Kuwait is wrong. And Iraq is the one who's attacked us. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It shows you that some of the people who, quote unquote, were our adversaries, showed that they have more basic sentiment of dignity than this man had. And this is the tragedy. The tragedy is not damaging just, it's not one man damage. The damage he's going to cause to all of us is wider than. I will take one more question, maybe.
Why didn't you say anything when Saddam Hussein destroyed the Kurdish people, Muslim people, with chemicals in the Arab countries? He didn't figure anything.
You're right. We all are guilty.
I wonder one thing. I think the definition of dictator is when you address your own people. It seems to be very taken into account.
You see, of course, it's always easy to be smart after the fact. You ask me, I spent 4 hours with the man in Ramadan. If you ask me 1 hour before the invasion of Kuwait, and you gave me the scenario that took place, I will tell you, you're crazy, or you're dreaming, or you're imagining. But of course, after what I saw what happened, I stopped and I went back to everything I know about Saddam Hussein. And to be frank with you, I had no reason, no excuse not to see what was happening. It's just sometimes we like to make believe that something is going the way we like it to go rather than what we know it's going to. Saddam Hussein gassed his people. We really went in solidarity. This is why the danger here, when people say, but let's stand with our Arab Muslim brother, even if he's the criminal, against, quote unquote, the imperialist who came to the Holy Land. Wait a minute. Let's use our brain. Those people did not come and then our brother committed a crime. Our brother committed a crime against us. And those people and other people are coming to help me. I cannot equate the two. You see what I'm saying? Therefore, we always reacted with our emotions, not with our brain. I spent hours here, in the Congress and in the State Department and in the media, doing what? Defending Saddam Hussein and these atrocities that they say chemically used, it's not true. To tell you the truth, I wasn't sure in my heart, but I had no evidence otherwise. We accused the Iranians of doing it. That's what the Iraqis told us. We accused all sorts of people. But eventually, the imperialists showed us facts. They said, wait a minute, these are the facts. And then we just kept quiet. We are just as guilty as he is, I believe, in retrospect, because we did not stand up and say, wrong is wrong is wrong. Like Gorbachev said the other day, and Shevardnadze told me, we feel guilty because it's Soviet tanks that went into Kuwait. I said, why do you feel guilty? We feel guilty. It's our money that bought those tanks. So we both are guilty. But two wrongs don't make one right. Okay, we made a mistake. We are guilty. But are we going to be so guilty that we'll accept Kuwait to just disappear? It's impossible. So انصر أخاك ظالما أو مظلوم. بقية الحديث معروف.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm your brother in Islam, Dawood Swain. I'm Vice President of the Islamic Society of North America, and I'm here today on behalf of our Majlis Ashura, our Executive Council, and our President, Dr. Ahmed Zaki Hamad. Unfortunately, many of them could not be with us today because our annual convention has begun, and I brought you some information, a letter from Dr. Zaki. It seems to me that many of the things that you've said today are very important and need to be heard by many more people than we have here today. You have stressed two very critical elements. One is the importance of solidarity among Muslims. And secondly, the importance of communication. The two clearly go hand in hand. We will not achieve solidarity without communication. From our position, we are sad to say we haven't enjoyed the fullest kind of communication with yourself, and I believe personally that we have suffered as a result. It's very, very refreshing to hear some of the forthright statements that you have made today. I think it's equally important for you to have the possibility of sharing the perspective, the concerns, and even to deal with the questions of our people. And for that reason, I would like to extend to you an invitation or an opportunity at your convenience and according to your schedule to sit either with our Majlis Ashura, our Executive Council members, or even with our President, so that there can be more of this sharing. Please, if you would have one of your staff members designate when that time would be. My question is, having said this, and remembering that there seems to be unanimity throughout the press and our senior leaders in the continent and our scholars, many of whom now have appeared on television, that this crisis is going to change things in ways we can't imagine. We will have wedges driven inside of the body of the Ummah unless we repeatedly adhere to our basic Islamic principles. That's what our Imam and what our Du'at have said today and say repeatedly across the continent. That is what your leadership, from the King to his top ministers, have told us personally in Saudi Arabia. But our perspective is that we must work together to achieve that. Having said that, my question to you is if you could share with us some ideas how to improve communications from yourself, which is very critical, and appropriate members of your staff with leadership of North America. You have some of it here, not all of it. Some critical sectors are missing. How can we systematize this? How can we increase access to you and make sure that you are aware of the pulse of the growing presence of Islam in America, which must be an important part of the strength of the Ummah in the future. Islam is permanent in the West, and the media now is starting to take cognizance of that. Even the political commentators are starting to link Islam and Muslim, Islam and Arabs together in this society. So we need to be in closer contact as we develop sufficient resources to meet the challenges that are coming, because they're liable to be even greater than what we have now.
Well, I want to thank my brother for his comments and his question. And you will not get an argument from me on what you say, because I agree. I also am ready to go and talk with our brothers in the ISNA at any level they like. Particularly after I've seen their statement they made on the issue.
We have that available if any of the brothers here.
Exactly.
And if you think it's appropriate.
Oh, I have no objection. There is nothing...
We're in your house. So
no, but there is nothing damaging to exchange ideas. And I think it's more important when you exchange ideas to respect the other person's ideas, even if you disagree with them. And this is why we take the position from Saddam Hussein we've taken. The fact that Kuwait and Iraq disagree, we will not take position neither with Kuwait nor with Iraq. We will try and do our best to get them to get together or bring them halfway. Although we have closer ties to Kuwait than Iraq, but as good Muslims and as good Arab brothers, our objective was to get them to come to a common ground, to be in the middle. But when the dialogue changes to the sword, that's when everything stops as Islamic behavior. So when I saw, in fact, when I saw the statement from Islam, I was disturbed, but then I didn't blame it all on Islam. I was disturbed because it was written based on what they have seen in the news media, rather than what they know as the facts. And when I saw what happened in the leadership, Islamic leadership, in Tunisia, in Algeria, in other places, who took one position, and as soon as our people got to them, their brother Muslim ulama sat them down and said, "Look, wait a minute, let's talk. Are you Muslim or aren't you?" "Yes, I'm a Muslim." "Well, then I want to judge this whole issue based on Islam and Sharia." They said, "Fine, we accept." They gave them their side of the story. It didn't take 5 minutes to change them. So in this instant, I take the blame. I take the blame, why? Because I hope you understand and appreciate with us the magnitude of the situation we had to deal with. It was a matter of survival for us. And we had to make movements fast and quick to consolidate our position in our nation. Because in our wildest dream, we never thought 1 million Arab brothers would be marching south. We thought they would be marching to Masjid al-Aqsa, not to us. So that was survival. We took quite a while doing that. Second, I'll be honest with you, we had to concentrate the second move on our own internal public opinion. Our own people were not aware of the realities. So we went to them and explained it. Then when they saw their brother Kuwaitis on TV telling their stories, there was no more doubts in people's mind who is right and who's wrong. Third, what we're doing now. I wish we did what we're doing now a week ago. That would probably have saved us a lot of readjustments. We did it, we're doing it now. Fair enough. It's better to do something right even if it's late rather than never to do it at all. So I am all for the dialogue, putting the facts together and letting people vote or say their conscience. I have no problem with a human being who tells me my conscience tells me I should do this or do that. I respect it. It is what bothers me is when somebody knows the facts and the realities and still do the expedient thing. As far as the future consolidation, I am 100% for organizing ourselves, and no exception. No Muslim brother should be, or Muslim organization should be excluded from Ijma' al-Ummah. We all should be together and we should listen to what every one of us has to say. If we agree, that is the ideal. If we don't agree, we will not be the first Muslims in history who disagreed, but at least we will know where we agree, where we disagree, and support our cause as we go along. So I promise you, in the next few days, that I will make sure my colleagues in the Islamic section side of the embassy to contact everybody and arrange, get a consensus of when and where and we get all together and sit down and discuss not just this issue, which is vital for us, but where do we go from here to continue and maintain the communications and the dialogue. And in our country, we're proud to say that serving Islam is not expedient, but it's genuine, and it is not a government policy, it's a public policy. If my government does not want to do it, it will collapse tomorrow. Therefore, our strength and commitment to our religion and faith is not because the king of Saudi Arabia thinks it is nice to be so. But the only legitimacy he has is because his people think he's going the right direction. And he adheres to Sharia and law. If he is outside that, he has no more legitimacy. And we take serving Makkah al-Mukarramah or Medina al-Munawwarah very seriously. In fact, so seriously, people used to laugh at us. As I tried to explain earlier, I am amused when they tell me there is an Islamic movement in Tunis or in Algeria or Turkey or in Sudan, or anywhere, Egypt, anywhere. But these are the same countries that used to look down at us because we close our shops to pray 5 times. Or because on Friday everybody goes to pray in the mosque. Or because the Western news media attack us for what being feudal. What have we done? Well, they are adhering to Islamic law. But these are the kind of insult, like Sheikh bin Baz told me one day when I took over as the ambassador here. I took over 3 days before our National Day. And we had the National Day, and 2,000 people came. New ambassador, young, and everybody wanted to see who's this ambassador. And the papers wrote the next day that the Saudi embassy, new ambassador, had a big function. Everybody who's anybody in Washington came to it. And the function was excellent and classy, and the food was superb. But there was one thing wrong with it. They didn't serve alcohol. And that really, made the whole party, not that big. Somebody from my brothers here, or students or something, cut it and sent it to Sheikh bin Baz. So a few weeks later, I get a letter from him. He said, "Son Bandar, they thought they insulted you, and I thought this is the biggest credit they gave you for, an attribution." My point here, don't be sensitive as Muslims. I tell our people, students, my colleagues, staff, them, why should we be sensitive? If I do something wrong that has nothing to do with my faith and culture, I will say, "I'm sorry, I did it wrong, could you teach me?" And I will appreciate anybody who knows better and who comes to teach me. And I will correct myself and I will do it. But when it is something that I believe in as faith is, I don't have to apologize for it. If others might not like it, fine. But I should not apologize for it. I should not feel defensive about it. The tragedy is, some of those countries that we consider our close friends and allies and brothers are the ones who are attacking us for certain behavior that is based on what I'm just telling you right now. So the dialogue, getting together and moving is something I support, and I am with it, and I take part of the blame for not generating it even more vigorously, and we will. So we have learned, these crises they have a good side to them, that they make our awareness much better.
According to wisdom, whatever wisdom Allah blesses us with, and it shouldn't be understood any other way.
Oh, we did it. But النصيحة واجب على كل مسلم. صديقك من صدقك ليس من صدق. I always tell a story. I'd like to give Imam Wahdin a chance. He wanted to ask a question or make a comment.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Yes, Excellency. First, I would like to express appreciation to you for myself and my group for the opportunity, the honor, and the opportunity to hear directly from yourself on the matter that is bothering all of us in your country, and especially for Kuwait. I have a confession to make too. I find it easy to make this confession now. I couldn't make it before. And it's because you have said things that cleared up some dark areas for me regarding Saudi Arabia's support for Iraq against Iran in that war. I had some ambivalence of emotions toward you, I have to admit. But as a Muslim, I believe, I try to make the right decisions. And I think most of us are, as you say, sensitive. And this sensitivity sometimes won't permit us to make the right decision. I don't have to feel perfectly comfortable with a decision if I know the decision is the right decision. There is problems for us with Muslims posed against each other, whether the Muslim is a bad Muslim or a good Muslim, because he's a Muslim in the eyes of the world and in the eyes of the people. There's serious problems for us there. There's serious problems for us when a country that has been responsible for Israel's presence in the Middle East is there now joining the forces of Muslims to stop Iraq, the aggression of Iraq, which is an ugly aggression. I see all of that, and I'm no bright man. I'm no PhD man. I see all of that, and my Islamic sentiment, my Islamic judgment, my Islamic sentiment rules in me, I believe, and I'm firmly with you. I'll even put on an uniform and go fight with you to defend Kuwait against Iraqi's aggression. And I believe the people, my people with me, will do the same thing. And they are many, and they are many. And many of them are from Vietnam. They know how to fight. Lastly, I want to say that I'm a Muslim first, but I'm also an American. And I think we have to overcome, again, a sensitivity that hurts us. And that is to always see America in a bad light. We have to see America as America is. And though we don't particularly like everything that is happening in America, we don't like everything that America is doing now, and even now. But we have to appreciate change in America for the better, and we have to respect the rights of all people to protect their vital interests.
I agree with you, and to tell the truth when it's required is vital, even against oneself. America is like any other country. Does right things and does wrong things. My country does it, every other country. We all were praising Eisenhower in America in 1956 because he told his allies, Britain, France, and Israel, you did wrong and withdraw immediately. And they did. So, and we did not support what our president did with Truman by creating the state of Israel. So we must give credit when it's due. And people will react based on their interests. If we make our interests, in this case vis-a-vis Jerusalem or other areas, become part that it is in their interest to support us in these causes, they will support us, but with effectiveness. Why? Not because our cause is just, but their interest dictates it. Disraeli, I think, a British Prime Minister, was asked by Queen Victoria, and she said to him, doesn't Britain have permanent friends? Mr. Prime Minister, he said, ma'am, Britain has no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Britain has permanent interests. So, when you have a problem as a brother Muslim, whether you are in Bangladesh, in America, or in the moon, I will respond emotionally to you. But if there is not that tie religiously or blood or family or something, then interests become the main issue here.
I think you've given an answer for all of us. If Muslims can keep our eyes on what is our permanent interest.
And then we can serve that interest by making everybody else feel that their interests dictate that they should do this or do that. That is then when we get the maximum support. If people don't think it's in their interest to be with you, why should they be with you? You see? And we must serve our interests. So I agree with you there. And I appreciate your comments.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm Ahmed Sakar, one of the senior members of the Workers of Muslims in America, and a good friend of Brother Imam Warisidi Mohammed. If you allow me first, on behalf of all of us, if not all, most of us, to thank you for your kindness, generosity, and hospitality in inviting all of us here. You are the first diplomat who have invited Muslims face to face to talk to them as a brother rather than otherwise. I feel deeply in my heart, while you are a member of the royal family, while you are a diplomat, today we found you a real da'iyah, facing the Muslims face to face with reality, and giving the nasiha face to face, and even asking the advice of every one of us. That is a plus credit. I hope you take it from a brother to a brother. I'm saying it sincerely. I hope all diplomats will follow your footsteps. We hope and we pray more meetings of this nature will continue from your side. And since you are in touch with many other diplomats whom we don't know any one of them, kindly do the same thing, because this is the only way to break the ice. The other thing I have to add, if you allow me one more thing, while Brother Dogar has recommended from Chicago, and you have responded beautifully, that we don't want to brag. Now it is the time to say, فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. I want to add another request from the brothers, the Kuwaitis, to do the same thing and add their voice with your voice. My experience for the last 30 years in this part of the world, the only two countries in the whole Muslim world who have helped us in America without giving or bias or prejudice, it is the Saudi brothers and the Kuwaiti brothers. I am a member of that group of the Muslims of America who have worked diligently with those two groups of Muslims of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and I give credit to those brothers. Let Saddam Hussein give us what he has done to us. He has more money than you. He has more wealth than you. He has more wealth than the Kuwaitis. But you have deprived yourself and given the Muslims all over the world. When I was in Rabita and United Nations, we knew how much you were helping the whole Muslim world. But unfortunately, the American press media never gave you a single credit. And now it is our duty to give the credit to our Muslims, although you were kind enough to admit that we make mistakes. Of course, all of us admit mistakes. And that is the things that gives you a plus credit, that you say the truth. Even if it is against me, I say the truth. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you more blessings and to give us unity all together and break the ice and work together as Muslims. Let us learn from our mistakes and not to repeat our mistakes, and work together as Muslims in America for the love of Allah. Thank you.
And I just want to second what you said. We, when I took over, one of the first things we established was Islamic department. I could not, to be honest with you, imagine Saudi embassy having diplomatic department, economic department, military department, and not Islamic department. I just could not envision, because the two to us is synonymous. Anything to do with Islam